Chairman Duffy, Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick, Ranking Member Green, and distinguished subcommittee members, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. When 5 Americans returned home in January after months, or in some cases even years of unjust imprisonment in Iran, we all rightly celebrated. The detention of these individuals, including a Washington Post reporter, a Christian pastor, and a former U.S. Marine, as well as many, many other innocents, underscores the threats to basic rights and freedoms in Iran's Islamic Republic. That this release was timed to coincide with the settlement of a nearly 40-year-old financial dispute between the United States and Iran, and that this payment included an airlift of foreign banknotes to Tehran has prompted the allegations of ransom that have brought us here today. I want to speak first to the question of ransom. I do not believe the facts of the case support the use of the word. As Chairman Henserling noted at the outset of the hearing, a ransom is a payment made specifically to secure the release of a detained person. This sum, by contrast, was made to satisfy a legitimate debt that the United States owed to Iran. The payment provided Tehran with nothing other than its own funds, money that was due to Iran as part of the adjudication of an old settlement. Further delay in settling this claim would not have obviated its reimbursement. In fact, we benefited, as the prior panel discussed, from an expeditious resolution of the remainder of the Iranian claims before the tribunal. Let me move beyond the specifics of the payment to emphasize a point that I think has been lost in the controversy. The coordination of the 2 separate tracks of negotiation to expedite American priorities and advance the American national interest with respect to Iranian behavior is neither unusual nor surprising. Since the '79 seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, each American president has sought to utilize economic leverage, both penalties and incentives, as a central component of a strategy designed to address the challenges posed by revolutionary Iran. This is the point of the sanctions, after all. It is the logic of the deal that was made to release the hostages in 1981, and it was the toolbox that was used by each of President Obama's predecessors, Presidents Reagan, George H.W. Bush, William Clinton, and George W. Bush. Each utilized sanctions as well as economic incentives in order to try to gain cooperation from Iran on various priorities. Using economic leverage has never precluded the intensification of sanctions or the use of military force or other coercive measures against Iranian actors or their proxies in the region. These are not mutually exclusive policies. Let me close by speaking to the issue of the unjust detention of Americans and other dual nationals in Iran. There have been a number of critics of the administration who've warned that the linkage that appears to be present in this settlement might induce Iran to seize more Americans and increase the risks to Americans in Iran. I understand why such inferences have been made, and I appreciate the rationale of imputing a kind of rational calculus to Iran's treatment of its own citizens and of its dual nationals. Unfortunately, in my view, this reflects a naive understanding of the drivers of Iranian politics. I simply see no evidence that Iran's long-standing patterns of human rights abuses, inadequate rule of law, and exploitations of individuals to advance an ideological narrative are subject to the logic of financial incentives. There is no attempted extortion here. In these arrests, I think that there is no method to the madness other than the obnoxious realities of authoritarian power. There is one factor that drives the detention and seizure of Americans and other dual nationals, and that is the DNA of the Iranian state includes and emphasizes a paranoia that is deep-seated toward external actors and external states. The jailing of Americans has always been motivated by a sense of a conspiracy, American-led, of regime change that is facilitated by these individuals. In that respect, let me conclude my remarks with an appeal to Congress to devote at least as much time and energy to seeking ways to facilitate the release of those Americans who remain behind bars, missing or detained in Iran today. First and foremost, Bob Levinson, who is sent to Iran by his own government. Also, Siamak and Becker Namazi, who have been in prison for as long as a year in one case. Nizar Hazak, who is a U.S. permanent resident. There are a number of other dual nationals who are seized in Iran today, and this is at the center point of the legitimacy of the Iranian regime. Thank you.